President Donald Trump will address the nation and the world tonight at 9 during a joint session of Congress.
That much is certain. What he will say and the impact it'll have is less so.
Political reporter Rick Albin here now with some of the possibilities. Rick?
Sue and Brian, the possibilities are many. The president will undoubtedly address Ukraine, but what will he say? Does he double down on suspending aid to the war-torn region, or does he offer a pathway to resume support? Now, reports suggest that Ukrainian military units could start running out of critical supplies in a matter of weeks without U.S. support, and the impact of that could be further devastating. European leaders have pledged their support while saying that the United States needs to be a part of that effort. Even if Trump wanted to further expand support of Ukraine, and by the way, he's given no such indication, it is not clear that the Republican Congress would agree to more spending there. What will the president propose tonight, and will it be substantial or merely a continuation of the rift that was laid bare in the Oval Office on Friday? What about tariffs? If a shooting war in Ukraine is a global concern, so too the economic war that intensified today with tariffs on major trading partners, Canada, Mexico, and China. If those tariffs remain in place, how long will it take to have a further negative effect on the U.S. economy that candidate Trump ran on improving? And what about the budget? Any other time a continuing resolution that expires in just more than a week would be issue one. And even though that is exactly where we stand as a nation, a firestorm of other pressing issues may move the question of how we pay for everything the federal government does back to a back seat to other politically charged questions. All that and cuts to agencies and personnel that have confused and enraged many may also be addressed. But what will the president have to say? That's the real question. What will the president say, and what impact will it have? Democrats have been sharply critical of Trump's actions, and some have vowed to stay away from tonight's speech. Those who attend are not likely to agree with much the president says. And tomorrow, will there be any clear path toward agreement or progress on any of these questions? That's what we'll be watching for tonight. Susan?